Me too. I know how you feel. So some scientists get a chimpanzee and they put the chimpanzee in a cage, and they know that we are so related, and they are clear that the chimpanzee would perhaps be able to be audible and speak our language, but could certainly learn how to write it. They go to great length and time to work with the chimpanzee, and a day comes that they've decided history is going to be made. And so they invite all the scientists in because they are waiting for the chimpanzee to write something according to how it has been taught. And so they all gather around and they're so curious. And this is what he wrote. You know, it's not natural for anything instinctive, for anything that is created to be caged. And so when we look at that today, and we look at the times in which we live, and we look at all of us in our energetic field, what we know for sure is that we want to declare, let me out. Let me out of old ways of thinking. Let me out from the limited beliefs that I have of myself. Let me out in just getting through life, but bring me to more of a place of an energetic life that is so exciting that before I even wake up in the morning, I'm already excited about it because I'm in my dream state, and I already know that something very profound is going to happen. Let me out of how I have kept myself from receiving my good in the past. And let me step into that on solid ground, and let me rise and say, I'm ready to receive all my blessings now. You can even say that if you want. You can say that if you want. I am ready to receive my blessings now. They're forever giving of themselves, but we must take. And be able to see, the eyes to see and the ears to hear, in order that that manifests in our life. We're talking today about the power of change. Someone once said, the only person that likes the word change is a baby. But we are evolving very rapidly in our society. And so I'm reminded of, in 12-step, the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, with the wisdom to know the difference, right? That's, if you just live by that and I just live by that, the world is already a better place. Or we could use the other Serenity Prayer, because you know how people like to put new words on things. God grant me this serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that would be me. Right? So it's powerful, very powerful. Einstein would say, 100 times a day, when I look in my inner life and I look at my external life, I am aware of all the people that have lived before my time, and all the people that are living now, and everything they have done, that in this moment I get to benefit with grace for the blessings that are all around me. One of the ways to really get into the experiential value of change is to live in a place of gratitude. Because as you live in a place of gratitude, it's like working out. It's like at first it hurts a lot, but after you do it a while, it's like bring it on. And gratitude, let me say gratitude, I'm not talking about when you're here and everybody's telling you look so good, and I'm talking about gratitude when you don't feel the gratitude is right there. I'm talking the gratitude that creates you to dig deeper, to be grateful. You see, because if you live in gratitude, then when change comes, you welcome it wholeheartedly. There's not a dread. There's not a resistance, because you know that whatever it is, it's going to be better than anything that you already know.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you for being with me today, Mickey. I appreciate it. I was telling BB, when I went home on Wednesday night, I was filled with tears. I was so grateful to say that I come here. As we had This Is My Brave, and we hosted people from all over to recognize and to end stigma of mental health issues. I was so grateful that our community lives in the real world, and that people can come here and find solutions in order to be free and no longer be caged because they have had some kind of energy or discounting or whatever, that it's not okay to be what is. One must accept what is in order to move into what will become. Right? I think of gratitude. I think of Andrew Carnegie. He gave $1 million to one of his relatives. At the time, that was a lot of money. Well, it's still a lot of money. Excuse me. Oh, dear God. Excuse me. In its time, it was more like 10 million now. And yes, it's a lot of money. He left the city and other charities $365 million. And rather than the relative saying, wow, you thought of me, spent his entire life cursing him for not giving him more. I think of Samuel Leibowitz, the judge that kept 76 men from going to the electric chair. And you might be shocked, not one of them ever thanked him. You understand? And so we want to be in this place at every meal that is in front of you. Take the time. If you don't want to do it publicly, you just take the time in silence and honor everything that has shown up on your plate. Because somebody somewhere has paid a price that you get to eat today. Are you with me? There's a vibration that happens that, yes, it aligns with your being, but you will start seeing that you begin to lose weight if you need to, because you have now a different connection with who you are and what your blessings are, and they go together. So you don't need more. You will find in this space of grace that you need less, and less is plenty, right? One of my favorite sayings, a lot of people get quoted to say it, or for saying it, is we're always somewhere between the no longer and the not yet. There's this empty space, somewhere between the no longer and the not yet. And this part we are 100% responsible for. Yes. Right? Yes. We are 100% responsible for that particular energy and that particular experience. Extremely powerful to know and to recognize that, and to live in that space that we call life. I think of the responsibility that we all have now. I love honoring Memorial Day, and I love the power of that. But I also love the power of between the no longer and the not yet. I love that energy of what is possible, because I want to hold together that you and we have this electrifying invoking that we call forth the world that we know we all came here to call forth. I envision 50 years from now, people will be shocked that people actually went to war. I envision a world that 50 years from now, and yes, it can be sooner, but in the future, I invite a world that people will be shocked that children ever went hungry or that anybody was ever hurt by another human being. I envision a world that people will understand we are not here to hurt our own. That anytime you discount life in anything, you're discounting your own. And that is very powerful because it is the law that is always working in your life. And anytime there's this dismissive part without the blessing, it is allowing our lower vibration to continue to live. And it's time for it to be called now and for it to stop. It's time for radical change now. And we are the ones. And it's more than, it's a responsibility. It's a privilege to be called. It's a privilege to be called. Right? So I also feel with Scripture, one of my favorite, like so many of you, I went through and picked out my favorite. And those are the ones that are like my poster boards for life, because I continue to grow into them all the time. And I love the one that where our brother Jesus is saying, do not be anxious about your life. Breathe. Do not be anxious about your life. Don't be concerned about what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear. Birds aren't anxious. Go over to the beach in Sarasota, Key West, St. Pete Beach. Have you ever seen any anxious birds over there? Right? Oh my gosh. It's already 2 o'clock, nothing's happened. I'm looking for my mate. It's not coming. Oh my gosh, I'm on duck.com and nothing's happening. I mean, like really, like, whoa. All right. Oh. It's not natural. It's not natural for us to be anxious. We aren't designed to be anxious. And when we buy into the fact and we listen to a bunch of people talk about how anxious they are, and we decide in our humanity it's something validating for us to be anxious, that's where we're getting these red diseases and discords. That's where we are getting stress outs. That's where we become part of the victim of the pharmaceuticals in some cases, because we are not designed to be anxious. People tell me, I'm taking these 6 medications and I'm having to take anxious medication. I don't have any judgment, but I would say that it could be that your body's saying there's a reason that you are anxious. And that you are in anxiety because your body's wanting to say, don't you remember me? Listen to me. I know what you need. Listen to me. I know what is meant to be. Listen to me. You see, does this relate to you at all? Because I'm just going wherever. Okay, so I love the story of the man that said, God, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And so he gets this message to go outside in front of his home, and he sees this big rock. And he just started pushing the rock. He said, that's what it is. I'm supposed to move this rock out of the way. And he pushes day after day after day, and he just can't even get it to budge. And all of a sudden, his adversarial, his critic starts questioning what he's doing. Oh, you can't move that. Why are you wasting your time? Oh, why do you care? Oh, what does it matter? Why don't you just forget about it? Just act like you don't see me. Just pretend. Be in denial. That's okay. It worked for a few people, probably 5 out of 7.5 billion. Just be in denial. Don't worry about it. It's just a rock. What the heck? But he would not surrender to that. And he said, I need to go, and I need to go back in prayer. And I need to say, God, why am I supposed to move this rock? And the sky's open, and he got the answer. I didn't ask you to move it. I ask you to be willing to push. I ask you to be willing to put your energy into it. I ask you to use your muscle power, you see, and to move something forward. I ask you to take addiction and do something with it. I ask you to look at what is possible for our children and our future, and I ask you to just push. I'll move it, the universe said, but you be willing to give it a push. You see, so many people say, I know there's things for me to do, but I just don't know how. That's the rock. We don't need to know how. We need to focus on the what that we're feel called to do. right? And that energy and that presence. I like the story of the three umpires, and they're kind of talking among themselves. One's young, one's pretty seasoned. And they go, well, how do you feel about when you call different things in the game? And, you call it a strike or a ball. And one umpire says, well, I call it the way I see it. The other one says, I call it the way it is. And the other umpire, who's been there a while, says, it is what I call it. It is what I call it. What do you call it? What do you call your spiritual path? What do you call you? This amazing part of you. What do you call the unknown to yourself that you don't even know yet? That's waiting. That's real. That's so powerful beyond measure. We already live in what we know. I mean, after a while, don't you want to live in something you don't know? Right? Thank you, Mickey. Yes. Give yourself some love. Have some love. We need more leaders in our society. All of you seated out there, you're a leader, or you wouldn't be here. Because we are a community that we create leaders all over the world. And you are in that seat. And it's time to rise up. It's time to say, let me out. It's time to say, it's time for me to get out of the closet. It's time for me to be open about what I feel and what I believe and to influence people. No matter what my age or what my past beliefs have been, I can do this because I'm willing to do it, whatever it looks like, you see. There was a vacuum cleaner salesman, and he was going from door to door, and he was working his way up into the mountains. He had all these tools. So he goes to this one door, this old looking cabin, and he asked this woman, he said, can I show you my vacuum cleaner? And I've got all these tools, and I want to show you what they are. And she said, no problem, go at it. I'll listen to you. So he brings it all in, and he's looking around, and he said, this vacuum cleaner will do everything. And over there, where all that dust is, and the little paper clip, and the hair, and all that's all knotted in a row, he said, this tool will scoop it right up. And he said, and I guarantee you, if it doesn't scoop it up right away, I will literally eat it. And she said to him, well, you might as well go get your fork and your knife, because we don't have any power in this house. You see. We talk every week about tools. We hug each other. We remind each other how fortunate we are to live and to be here and to support each other. But it's just a tool if we don't turn the power on. If we don't get electrified, if we're not modeling to our children, if we're not showing community a better way, if we're not signing up for some of these programs and getting involved across the board with our city and everywhere else. Wow. It's our time. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.